All right, so we're going to just start out with some ground rules before we jump into the main presentation. I want to do some intros and things like that. The first thing I want to tell you is I want your input. So although you guys are on mute, you can ask questions. And the way to do that is through the Q&A section in the webinar, in the Teams webinar interface. Please be patient. If I don't get your question right away, I promise that we'll eventually get to it. We are recording the session, so you can watch this on YouTube later today. Another thing that's really important to know is the solution I'm going to show you is something that is a template that you can download to your own environment. You will only need to make sure that you install the Ultimate Forms software. If you don't have Ultimate Forms yet, no worries. Most people won't who are on our presentation. You can get the complete software on free trial for 30 days. So make sure you get that installed. You can download everything I show you. Just to give you some background, I am a SharePoint Solutions developer, and I do many things in and around SharePoint and the Microsoft 365 platform. I also have a YouTube channel, which is SharePoint Smart. I hope you'll check that out. There's lots of cool free learning videos and information on my YouTube channel. And then outside of my work with Infowise, I also have a platform called SharePoint Dashboards. After our main presentation, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that. It's a neat tool that you can use to create visual dashboards for your SharePoint lists and in your SharePoint sites. Our philosophy at Infowise is to keep things simple. That means that our tools are no code. You don't have to do any programming to make these things work. It's all just through configuration. We like things to be easy, and we know our customers want things to be easy as well. And another thing is we like to keep improving. So although it's important to keep things easy, we want to make sure we provide flexibility and options, so we're always trying to improve our tools. Okay. And Ultimate Forms itself, this is a tool set that you can add to your SharePoint environment. It is available both for on-premise SharePoint and for SharePoint Online. My presentation will be taking a look at SharePoint, using SharePoint Online for the example. So any version of SharePoint that you have, you should be able to tap into these tools. All right. Whoops. I'm just trying to go to my next thing. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. All right. So as I mentioned, it's available in both online and on-premise SharePoint. This visual is my general perception about SharePoint. Out-of-the-box SharePoint can be a bit limited, and so we want to add to that. So that's really what Ultimate Forms is about. When you can add these tools to your environment, it allows you to have complete solutions. So we're going to look at a help ticket solution today, but there's all kinds of things you can do. It's an entire solution platform and adds all kinds of capabilities that you're going to want in order to build custom forms, easily set up your email alert notifications, and have custom workflows, and quite a lot more. All right. And this is what I see out of the box SharePoint. It's a bit plain vanilla. The joke I make is polar bear in a snowstorm. There's no visual indicators with kind of a regular SharePoint list, and we want to make sure that our dashboards look nice. So SharePoint can be a bit boring, and so for a help desk solution, we want to make sure that we do things to make sure we have nice looking indicators and dashboards, both for our users and for our help desk team. Okay, so let's describe what I see as key components in a good help ticket solution. Those would be making sure we have easy request systems. So the input for your user when they need to make a new request, that's got to be super simple. So let's make sure that's streamlined, focused. We don't want to hit them over the head with a whole bunch of different fields to fill out. Another thing is email alerts are going to, of course, be a key component of the system. So that's obvious we need to have it. What's maybe not as obvious, that really needs to be easy for you to configure. And out-of-the-box SharePoint is not going to give you that. I'm going to show you how this will be easy for you to manage because that's going to be intrinsic to a good help ticket system, SharePoint. We need good dashboards. I was just talking about that. Certainly want to make sure that those screens look nice, both for users and for the help ticket team. And we want to have form sections that are going to be separate. So the view that I see in the form is naturally going to be different if I'm somebody who uses this system to help my users versus somebody who's just making the request. And we'll talk about how that can work with some permissions that are in the form. We're going to need some special validation rules. We want to make sure that we get complete information when the ticket comes in. We want to have reminders. We want to give a little nudge both to the users or to the person who's assigned, depending on how old that ticket is, or a key update. And then we want to be able to see more information when we hover over events, that kind of thing. I'll show you how we can have a hover feature in my demonstration. We want to have aging indicators to know how old those tickets are. We want logging. We don't want to see just current state on the ticket. We need to see all the key steps along the way, the whole life cycle for the ticket. And then we need to be able to have our communication happen. We want to have everything inside the system. We don't want an email chain that arises outside of our help ticket system. And I'll show you how we can do that. All right, so here I am in SharePoint. So we'll go ahead and start to take a look. We're going to look at it from a user perspective first, so you can kind of understand how the system operates. And then after we go through from that, I'm going to show you how the back end works. I'm going to show you how the configuration is set up. I'm going to show you how to make adjustments so that you can tweak this. What I'm showing is a template you're going to be able to download, but naturally every organization has some different requirements. So I expect you'll want to make some adjustments, maybe add some fields, make some adjustments to customize it, make it match exactly what you want to do. All right, so here's my main dashboard for my help ticket system. So I'm just going to click on this first tile. We're going to go to help requests. And we'll start with the most obvious stuff. Okay, so here's my dashboard. You can see this looks quite a lot different from the boring SharePoint view. And this really packs it in. It gives me all the key information so that as I'm browsing through these tickets, I can have that key information surface and know how old these tickets are on the age column. I see just a nice short summary of what that ticket request was for. If my user attached a screenshot, I can just hover over the field to get that information. So you can see this has those KPI indicators, consolidated, that type of thing. And I've got a critical ticket up top. That's why that one's in red. And then, of course, we're going to be wanting to look at status. So let's go ahead and make a new ticket. Let's start at the beginning, so to speak. Okay, so this is what I describe as a very focused user experience. We want to make sure it's painless for somebody to make a request. So, all right, let's come up with a silly request. I can't get logged into SharePoint. And then we require some notes also. So we want a summary description of what they need, and then they're going to describe what's going on. So I'm going to say, seem to log in. I don't get an MFA notification. Can you please help? Now, there's something interesting in here that's definitely not in out-of-the-box SharePoint. And this is incorporating some new features that we've recently been adding to our tools, which is AI Helper. So below this, you see rewrite in a different style. So this is just a tool. If I want somebody to maybe clean up what I input a little bit, I can elect to use that. So I can say, click the little magic wand there, and it'll rewrite that for me. Well, if I don't like what it does, I can always revert it back. But this is a new AI feature. So that's really cool. That's really going to be something your users will like. And of course, it really signifies that we've got a modern tool, which would be a nice selling point in terms of user adoption. All right, below this, I've got a question that says, is this a critical request? Well, now what's the problem there in a help ticket? Everybody's request is the most important request in the world, right? So it's maybe not so helpful to us if we just ask them that. We need to kind of do a little bit more here. So notice I put in a dynamic rule, If they say that it's critical request, I'm going to ask them a follow-up question and say, oh, okay, marking a request is the equivalent of calling 911. Are you sure this is critical? And if they don't answer that, they can't save out. We've got a custom validation rule that blocks. They have to confirm that. So the situation here is we do want to know if a request is critical, but we want to have a little extra dialogue with the user to make sure that they're not just marking all their tickets critical. And then also we've got some color coding for that. And then I can drag and drop an image on here. Screenshots are always helpful. Notice that the input process is really fast. It doesn't have to do much information, and that's going to be important for help ticket system. And naturally after that, there's going to be some back and forth. So you can say that this is showing up with a red highlight, and that just helps us know this is a critical ticket. So hopefully our users are following our instructions and our message, and they're not just marking all the tickets critical. All right, so at this point, I can just click on Edit. I can go back to the form. And I want you to notice how the interface is completely different when I come back in second time. Okay, so back in the ticket, notice now there's a tabbed interface, and I've got an IT update screen. What we're able to do with our tools, Ultimate Forms, you can designate a whole form section, in this case in the second tab, that would be visible to users that you specify in the security group. So in this case, we could make a SharePoint group and call it IT support team, and just add the members of your IT support team, and make it so that when anyone opens the form, they're not going to see this section. This is a whole part of the interface which is just going to be for the IT users. Additionally, we have another area for response. So IT can provide some notes on here. Your response. You're working on it. All right. And then in the IT updates, I want you to see some of the dynamic aspects of how the ticket system works. So what's the first thing I'm going to do? Maybe I'm the help desk manager. I need to assign this to one of my team members. Okay. So I can add buttons into this form that are going to perform those key updates. So notice what's going to happen when I click assign. So I'm going to go ahead and assign this to myself. And it's just using the standard SharePoint people picker field. And when I click submit, there's some dynamic functionality here. That goes ahead and saves out the ticket, but now I've got it assigned to one of my help team members. And that's important because I am needing to make sure they get a notification. An additional thing that takes place here is we have history logging. And this is additional functionality that's baked into this system that you'll be able to download. It gives a date timestamp and the name of the person who made the update. So this is useful because as this ticket ages and I want to see what's going on, maybe I want to know why it stalled out, or when was the last time there was an update, so I can find out, do some troubleshooting, and see what's going on. So it logged exactly the date timestamp when this got assigned to me. Other critical updates can be captured here as well. So now I need to update the status. So I know this got assigned to me. Well, I'm working on it, so I want to update it. I'm going to say it's in progress, and notice more history logging. So, all right, I've taken the ball, so to speak. I'm working on my ticket, and I can go ahead and update my ticket with that. I can do other things like prompt by asking questions. So as you guys well know, a lot of times when we get those requests in, we don't get enough information. We need more information. We want to facilitate a dialogue in the ticket itself, because if there's some chain of communication outside the ticketing system, as the IT manager, I don't know what happened. Nobody knows what happened. We don't want that information to be lost. Okay, so I'm going to ask. I'm going to say, can you tell me when you first started seeing the issue? Okay, so that'll do a couple things. We can have a trigger on an email alert, which will trigger an email to the user when I click this button. And then we want that log too. We want to be able to have a record that we asked that. And notice it's highlighted in a different color. Okay? So that whole path along the way is really important. This isn't just a snapshot thing. It's just not just ticket open, ticket closed. There's usually a process. We have things that have got to take place in order for that ticket to be resolved. There's going to be some communication. There's going to be a dialogue back and forth with the user so they know what's going on. Okay, what if I have some notes and it's more technical. It's not really necessarily for the user. Maybe I'm doing some troubleshooting in the system. So I might want to put a note that's maybe just for the help ticket team. I can say checked in M365 admin user profile info is up to date. Something like that. It's just a note for IT. I can do a note that way, which wouldn't trigger an email. And notice I got some color highlights going on in the history log. So we can do some dynamic things with that, and then naturally I'm going to keep making updates to the status depending on what's going on. So now maybe I need to mark this on hold based on, I have a blocker. I can't resolve this. And that's all going to surface up back to my dashboard. So without having to delve into all these tickets, I can easily, at a glance, see what the progress is on these. And then ultimately, if you look at request 2 down here, when they're complete, the age will say closed, so that timer, if you will, kind of ends. And then we can have filtered views as well. So naturally, I don't want to see all of the help ticket system. Depending on the size of the organization, ultimately, we're going to have hundreds of requests, and we want filtered views for that. So, of course, SharePoint does that quite well. So we've got lots of views set up so that we can just see, open items, new items, that type of thing. So if I go to this complete view, that's just the complete ticket. So that'll help you keep everything focused, and we have links to those views from the dashboard. My request. So from a user perspective, I don't want to see all the requests either. So I can just click this button and just go to the request that I made. Now I made all these requests, so there's a lot of them. Or if I'm thinking from the user perspective of the help desk team member, they want to see ones that have been assigned to them. So I would also have a dashboard where that assigned to field is to me. That way I can go through my queue and see, which of my tickets have I closed out, that kind of thing. So the SharePoint filtered views are going to be really useful for those purposes. Now, the email notifications, you're going to be able to configure according to trigger updates on the ticket. So naturally, the first one is what you see there when a new ticket comes in. So we can get a little nudge and know that's come in, and we can go to the next step. Okay, so that's a little bit of what the user experience is and how they interact with the support ticket system, how they can make updates, and how we can facilitate a back and forth, that type of thing. All right, let's look at how this works. How do you interact with this system to maybe make some adjustments, configure email notifications, get this to work specific to the rules of your own organization? All right, so this is an app that's added to your environment, and when you have that, a new option can appear, well, more than one new option on the command bar. So if I click on this design button, it takes me to this workbench, if you will. These are all the settings that are available for Ultimate Forms. And we're going to be especially focused on Form Designer. That's really the heart of Ultimate Forms. This is the form building interface. It's a drag and drop style interface that lets me take fields and just drag them down onto the interface, and then I can do things to adjust it to make it look however I want it to look. So if I want to do a multi-column layout, I can do something like take a container, and I have this little slider I can adjust and set how many columns will appear. All the dynamic functionality we're looking at, everything is set up and configured from the Form Designer interface. What's awesome is I don't have to write code to do this. In the past, as a web developer, I used to have to do a lot of programming, and especially with web forms, I'd have to do some pretty sophisticated JavaScript or something like that to get some of this functionality. In Form Designer, I can do things like dynamically show and hide fields based on rules. So if you remember on the critical question, I have a follow-up according to your response. So I can set a rule that's easy to understand. I just give it the instruction, make this field writable with the condition critical is yes. So I have this field called critical, and I said if that field's yes, make that writable. That's not true. It doesn't appear. We saw it in the form. It initially was hidden. It only appears under that condition. And then paired with that, I have a conditional validation rule, where not only do I need to show it, I need to ensure that this gets an answer of yes, based on the fact that they initially said it was critical. So I don't have to write code to enforce this kind of rule. So that means fast, streamlined form building. I can make a dynamic form with these conditions. Another thing in there, I have some screenshots. So you probably saw in the interface a place to load a screenshot. Maybe they've got more than one. I don't want to limit them to just one screenshot. But I also don't want to clutter the interface with all these screenshot fields. I only want to present this if they need it. In other words, if they load one screenshot, I want to give them a slot to add a second one. And so the way I get that is similar to what we did above. I can just say, all right, if the field screenshot's not blank, then make this writable. Make this appear if this above field is blank. And then I can just chain on that, use the same pattern. So the next one says, make this next one visible if screenshot and screenshot 2 aren't blank. So it's really easy to make this form that's responsive and updates and changes its appearance according to what the user is doing as they work along. Okay, so let's talk about the form rules. So IT updates, the way that you're going to make this work is I can take a whole container and apply a rule, and that condition will affect everything within the container. So that would be very tedious if I had to make rules on every single individual element. Luckily, I don't have to do that. All right, so what I did, I just said write on edit display, but what you're going to do in your situation is you're going to use this special control for users and groups, and you're going to make yourself a special SharePoint group. So I could say, I could type some stuff in here, and I could pick group, and that's what you're going to do. And it will make it so that this whole form section is going to appear only for those team members. So even if the requester comes in to edit, they're never going to see that section. And that's exactly the pattern you're going to want for this type of solution. Now, the buttons are really fun to work with because they can do more than one thing at a time. And in fact, that's exactly what we saw in my demonstration. So I can drag this button control on here, and I can give it some instructions. I can pick a fun icon to appear, and then I can tell it which updates to make. And there's 2 key updates that I want. I can give it an input parameter. That's where it asked me. I clicked the button and said assign, and then it said who. So who do you want to assign it to? I had to pick a person, if you remember. And then I told it to update this assign to field based on the button click. And then the secondary thing was this history logging we saw at the bottom. I told it to update the history log, which is the bottom of the screen. And that, of course, by the way, I've set it read-only. It's not a user input. It's something I'm using to store information on these updates. And all these buttons work in that similar manner. So update status, same type of thing. I need to know what the new status is. It updates the status field. But not only that, I want it to update the history. So I don't have to be a developer. I don't have to work with these nasty, nested code statements to get this kind of dynamic functionality. I can just do it based on the simple drop-down configuration. So that's really handy to work with. Now, other things, maybe I don't want the button to appear based on certain conditions. So I needed that in the case of the IT question no. You might have noticed that those buttons change color according to whether I'd filled in information. So I can create that kind of functionality by checking, what's in the corresponding question. So in my case, I want the button to appear. I want there to be a clue in the interface that you can do something, but I don't want it enabled unless you've actually entered data in the input. So I said, write if there's an IT question there. So if IT question is not blank, writable, but otherwise, you'll see the button, but I want it read-only. In other words, if I click on it, I can click away. Nothing's going to happen because they didn't put anything in IT question. So that's kind of a way to make the UI look good and sort of an enabled and disabled situation for a button. So lots of interesting, cool things I can do in those updates. Now, in your case, what you're going to do is probably add some additional sections. You're going to say, well, we need to get more information from the user, or we have a different process with our ticket. And that's fine. You can just keep adding new columns into the interface You can do that directly from Form Designer so that you can augment what I showed in my example for the system. So in actuality, this template is a really fantastic starting point, which you can adapt easily and quickly to your own situation. All right, I'll make sure I don't save whatever I just did. Okay, so back up to the dashboard for the tools. The other key, another very key thing that I mentioned is email alert notifications. So these are really easy to set up. If I didn't have this, I would have to go into Power Automate and create all these conditions and update content. And although I know how to do that, I've done it before, it's tedious, it's time-consuming, not user-friendly, not efficient, and not a great way to manage email notifications. This is in sharp contrast to that because it's directly in SharePoint. I don't have to go somewhere else, and I can configure these roles through just working through these tabs. So email notifications, we know we're going to have lots of them, right? I want it on status updates. I want it when the ticket's sold. I want it when a new ticket comes in. I want it when a ticket complete. You get the point. You're going to have a lot of email rules. You'd better have a good system where that's not going to be hassle to update. And this gives you that for sure. Okay, so all you have to do is give a name to your email role and then define the recipients. Now, what you're going to be able to do is specify fields in the form. So I have, for example, the assign to field, and if I add that, it means it'll go to whoever's in the ticket. So these are dynamic. And then you can do blind copy. So maybe the help desk manager always wants to get a copy of these, and he's going to have them all in his email, going to a folder. You get the idea. So recipients is easy to do. For the from, you could configure this to be going from like a no reply email if you wish. It's up to you, but the key thing to know is that is dynamic. You can configure that to come from a special email address if you wish. The what to send, this is where you're going to set the rules. So in my case, I've got one for added. I don't really need any special conditions. But when I do the other updates, I'm going to need to have things like when, status after change, contains something. So if it's on a modified, say, status after change equals complete, you get the idea. And then an email will go out only exactly at the time when the status has just been updated, changed to the value complete. And then at that stage, you just go to this content editor, and it's a rich text editor. You can just format. As you can see, I've done some highlightings. You just can insert your fields. So you just go up here, pick the fields that you want to show up in the email template, and you can just double-click them, and they're just going to show up showing you square brackets in your template, and naturally those values will get pulled right in. And then you can have a link right back to the ticket. So this edit item link will just link directly to the ticket. So they don't have to go browsing around to the ticket. They can just click on it, and it'll take them directly to the form. And those are just super simple. You don't even really need training on this. You're pretty much going to know exactly what to do the very first time you go in here. And then all your email roles will all be in one place. So that's going to be very easy to manage. All right, so let me pause for a second. I want to know if you guys have some questions, comments about what I presented, and then we're going to kind of pivot, and I'll talk to you about some, kind of your next steps, what to focus on based on what I just showed. So if you have questions, this is the time to put it in our Q&A section. That's where we're doing our questions. There's a question about why not use a single attachment field. You certainly can do that. We have a drag and drop attachment field if you want to go that route. I find that screenshots are really effective and helpful, so you could use both if you want to. So that's an example where you can just add that field onto the form. That's up to you. As far as why it's broken into multiple fields, in this case I'm using the SharePoint image field, which is takes a single image reference, and that keys to our dashboard, which is expecting a single key image screenshot. Does each end user have to have a SharePoint account? Yeah, that's just SharePoint in general. This is an authenticated system, and yes, you do need to do that. Now, we do have a feature which is generally referred to as public-facing forms, If you're interested in a support system, which you can expose to public site, we have that capability. That would be an intake form kind of situation. Not really what we're focused on today. It's a possibility, but if the user's going to get in SharePoint, yeah, they have to have a SharePoint account. Or more precisely a Microsoft 365 account, which will get them in there. I think what you're referring to is, could you have a ticket open by email? Yes, that's not in what I'm demonstrating right here, but that certainly can be done through automation. So that could be done through actions using Ultimate Forms, where rather than they fill out the form, you could have it generate a ticket, or you could do a Power Automate workflow to do that. This example, as it's demonstrated, we're expecting them to go to this dashboard to kick off their ticket. Now, an important aspect of that I would point out is we want to make sure we get good information and complete information from users, and so it benefits us to have them go to the form, because now I can validate, make sure I ask them what I need to ask them so that we get better, more complete information. If I just do an email-triggered system, that may cause some issues, and that I don't get everything I want when the ticket first gets created. There's a question, could you assign engineers on a round robin? That's a really great suggestion. I think that's very clever. That would be an automated type of situation. I absolutely think that's possible. I can't say precisely how to do that, but if you send a follow-up to us, I'm sure I could suggest a process. That's a very clever idea, because if you have 10 team members, maybe you want to just have it automatically go to the next person in the team. So really fantastic suggestion there from Sanjeev. Okay, let's see what else we got. Would it be faster to provide more clarity if there are drop-down options? Yeah, you certainly can do that. Here's the thing to think about. What I'm showing you really is a template. It's a starting point. That's how you should think of this solution. It's a starting point from which you can add your own configuration options. I don't disagree with that. There certainly is going to be a trend and a pattern when it comes to help tickets, and there's certain ones that seem to come up on a recurring basis. If you want to have a category drop down in your ticket form, so the user can just hit that drop down and pick from those, I think that's a great idea. And it's really easy to add that field in there. So good comment on there. There's a question around the AI engine. This is integrated with ChatGPT. So it's using technology from OpenAI. And this, privacy was consideration on that. It works the same manner as if you put a prompt into AI. It's doing rewriting, so probably you may want some kind of disclaimer if you like, if you have a concern about that. That's generally how it works. The numbering on the rack. This is tied into the SharePoint ID. So all it's doing is basically just putting REQ dot whatever the SharePoint ID is. That's the simple process. We do have an ID system. If you have different requirements on the numbering and want to use your own custom numbering scheme, you can do that. But that's what's being demonstrated here. Okay, those are really good questions. You may certainly keep those coming, but I'm going to kind of move on to my next part of my presentation. And the thing I want to mention to you basically is next steps. It can be a bit overwhelming, especially if you're looking at something that looks a lot different than what you're used to seeing in SharePoint. And so there's lots of questions and decisions you're trying to make. It's a process. So the most important thing you could do after this would be to try out the tools and try out the form builder. And the way that you need to do that is go to the InfowiseSolutions.com site. And on the main page, there's Try Now for free. And then you can just go to Install Now. You do need to be a SharePoint admin to get your install going. So if you're not, make sure you reach out to your IT team to do that. It's a really easy process. You just run through Wizard. And once you do that, you'll have our entire software available to you, and it will run on a trial for 30 days. And that's really important, because then you can get into the form builder and play around with this and do what you want. Now, to get the template I'm showing here, you'll go to our design screen, and it's in this button that says Solution Catalog. And every time we do a presentation each month, we load a template from that. So I did one on custom calendars in March, and you see that as the first tile. Later today, you're going to see what I'm presenting right now, and you can download exactly what I demonstrated. And then you can adapt that and add to it to make it incorporate the features that you guys have suggested. And by the way, you guys have had some really good suggestions. So that is the best first thing that you need to do. Now, once you've done that, you can look at some of our resources. We have tutorials and instructions up on our website. A particular thing that would really help you a lot would be something called Kickstart training. It's a training that guides you through building your first form. So if you're brand new to Ultimate Forms and you just really want some hand-holding and get some help, I know I need that sometimes. This will tell you exactly what to do so you can start to get some traction and see how things work. And then we offer additional training as well. You can do instructor-led training. You can reach out to us for that. So all kinds of information there. So that's pretty much what I wanted to show you as far as the help desk solution. I am going to pivot at this point. I'm going to talk to you about an additional tool that I hope you guys will take a look at, which is SharePoint dashboards. Now, this whole presentation is around the topic of help desk and help tickets and all that. So it all fits together, but these two tools can work together. All right, so SharePoint dashboards is incorporated in what I showed you, as a matter of fact. And especially the dashboard template with the hover and highlighting and all that type of thing is actually a template from the site. This is a tool that allows you to visualize data in SharePoint, and especially when it comes to key performance indicators, dashboards, and status indicators, and all that fun kind of stuff. You can do that by looking at these templates. Now, you can sign up for free for this, and it does include 21 templates, and then there's a pro version of this tool set which has 205 templates. It's everything you see on this page in the SharePoint templates gallery. And then one of the templates in here is actually what was used in this solution, which is the help desk template. So that's what was applied for that. You can have access to that by just downloading the Infowise template. But it could be that you may want to make adjustments to that. You can do that through this site. A lot of these have to do with buttons too, being able to click buttons to make update. I told you how excited and how much I like being able to add buttons to the form. Certainly I feel that way when it comes to the SharePoint list itself. So if you like the idea of having an approval button right on your list view, or an approval summary, something like that, or even edit buttons, things like that. There's charting templates that allow you to do what you want. There's all kinds of different options. It's very easy to work with. I'll just show you an example of the edit button. I probably use it more than any other template. You basically just come through here and you can configure from these options. It'll show you a preview of what the button's going to look like, and then you'll be able to copy that in. So let me log in. And that way you can see what it looks like when you're logged in. I can do a search on the top here. So I can say, oh, I want my edit button. And then I can pick whichever template I like. And then all I have to do is click copy template. And then it tells you exactly what to do in the pop-up window. Then I can come back over to SharePoint. And basically all I have to do is go to column header as an example, and I just go to column settings, format this column, and I can just paste it in. So that's the edit button template sitting right there. It does exactly what you would think. It jumps me right to the edit form, and that's it. Using SharePoint dashboards does not require any installation of software. You can just copy and paste these templates directly from that site. So you can try this out. That's the thing. Just like with Ultimate Forms, you want to evaluate and try it out. So you want to download the software. With SharePoint dashboards, you can just go to Get Started and click Start for Free. That'll give you these 21 templates that you see here. All you need to provide is your name and your email. You get your login, and then you can use those as much as you want. Those aren't limited. But to access all of the templates that are shown in the gallery, that's the subscription, which is a monthly subscription. You only need a user license just either for yourself or whatever IT people want to actually apply templates, but you don't need licenses for people who are viewing the dashboards, the other users. Only a license to do the tool. So it's really easy to do. There's a video tutorial explaining how to use every single one of these templates all 205 of them. So you can just watch the video, it tells you what to do, and then additionally there's instructions in the lower left on each template, which explain to you, what you need to do for that particular template, how to make it work, that type of thing. So it's a lot of fun to work with. If you like visuals, visual indicators, this will really let you do that. All right, so let's see. Let me check and see what other questions you guys have. Anything help ticket related. It can be about Ultimate Forms or SharePoint dashboards or anything at all. Is there an Infowise community? Not that I know of. That's a good one. That's an interesting idea. I have to kind of bounce that off of my other team members and see what they say, but not as of yet. Oh, somebody said they were in the middle of working a help desk ticket and they had to join midway. Yes, this is being recorded. It'll be posted on YouTube later today. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and stop our recording at this point, but I am going to keep the session open so that if anybody thinks of more questions, they can go ahead and get those in.